Hey guys, so if you remember back in the fall on this area of the land, I'm starting some propagation plots, some places that we can let perennials that spread really well spread and kind of take over the land, and that'll give us a chance to dig them up, to pot them, and to make a little extra money on the side through the summertime during the good season selling our plants. Back in the fall when we first had our son and getting outside was definitely a commodity, I had gotten my hands on a bunch of bearded irises that you can see coming up behind me, and I just kind of stuck those in the ground along the grass. Now I'm coming back in, and because you don't want to sell plants, obviously, that have grass all through them, nobody wants to put a weed into their garden, I'm now coming through and getting all the sod out around it. If this was another kind of plant, I honestly wouldn't do it this way because you would take a chance of damaging those plants. But bearded irises are ridiculously hardy. They're the kind of plant that you can literally just trample over them. They'll always come back next year. They spread really easy. They're really easy to separate. So it's a good plant to start with. I'm actually using a spade shovel to do this. If I was just taking up a clear spot of sod, I would have used something like a square shovel. But the spade shovel really makes it so I can get in and around these plants. And they're so hardy, it makes it really easy to just dig the sod up. And what's nice too is on this land there's quite a few places where the previous owner must have been doing something because there's random dips and holes in the land. And besides using the sod as a nice treat for foraging for my ducks and chickens, I can dump what I don't use for them into those holes, kind of let them start to fill in, and it'll already have roots in there to make it so they can really start growing some grass back. And also alongside this, which you can't see on my right side over here, is I've started digging up another square of sod to make another propagation plot. I have a 5-gallon bucket just stuffed full of some daylilies that I want to plant. That's another good perennial that'll come back and that'll spread itself throughout the year and that I can use to sell. The only hard part I've been having is about halfway through this plot, it suddenly turns to tons of gravel. What I'm thinking is we actually own this brush behind us too, and if you go into the brush, you can see that the land suddenly dips down. So what I'm thinking is it probably dipped in a little bit farther forward, and the previous owners must have came in with a cheap fill that had a lot of gravel in it to fill that area. But again, that'll be fine with the bearded irises because they're really hardy, they do really well. They'll grow almost in any kind of, well, not any kind of, you don't want wetlands and stuff, but you know, with the gravel, they'll spread through that okay. And as you can see, they came back really well from the previous year. I had already previously cleaned them up and cut back all the dead from the year before to really give them a chance to get some sunlight and come in. So I'm going to keep working on this while I have some time outside away from the baby and that kind of thing, and get done what I can so these can start spreading really well. Another idea that I have, you probably saw all the rocks that we pulled out from starting our vegetable garden. There's a lot of medium-sized and smaller stuff. I'm thinking that'll be nice to bring in here and do some nice square borders to kind of separate out and make sure I can keep a good eye on where different species of plants start to separate themselves and make it a little nicer. That's what I'm kind of liking about these propagation plots. It's even though it's all plots of one kind of flower and they're all just kind of spread in, when it fills in and they're all blooming during their bloom time and everything, it's going to make a really pretty view. This is in our front yard, so it'll give us a nice view from the house and everything. Just give some color patches out at the edge of the yard, so that'll be really nice. So we found quite a few plants around the land that were already previously here and have come back from last year. Some that I've identified, some that I haven't. There's a few tulips over here and also some daffodils and wood there, all that I would like to move in into a more sunny spot, because if you see all the pine cones on the ground, they're under quite a few evergreens over here. But those will be really nice to have. just for ourselves. So you can't see it very well now. I'll throw up a picture of back when it was blooming. There's a few random patches over here. But if you see this different kind of grass right here, it's a little bit lighter green and a little bit more silver than everything else. I haven't mowed this one patch here because I want to dig them up and move them. They're pretty random. But there's 4 or 5 patches of crocus over here, which are a really nice little flower to have. There's all different varieties of crocus, but we got a nice deep purple crocus, which is nice. See, there's 3 very nice motherwort plants here, which will be another nice one to let spread and separate and grow and pot up and that kind of thing. Plus I like the looks of them. They're kind of random where they're at right now, but I think I can move them and let them do something really nice. All around this rock here, it's quite nice because we've got stands with bird feeders over here, and there's this nice big rock. It looks really good. There's a ton of grape hyacinths coming in. They're starting to go by now. They were all in bloom the past couple weeks here, but they're starting to die off now. But grape hyacinth is another one that's great because it'll spread like crazy. We already have random ones. You probably can't see it here, but there's one little patch of purple way out there where they're starting to spread around into the lawn, so that again will be nice ones for propagation. I can leave them right where they are. I'll just dig up the ones that spread into the yard, pot them up, and that'll be really nice. Plus I can plant them in other areas of the yard if I want to. But they're a really nice, pretty little plant here. I can get one in a little bit more focus for you. I am happy that there is plantain growing in here and there around, because if you guys know our channel, you know that I love plantain. And what I'm hoping is to collect some of the seeds this year so that I can use them as cover crops in the vegetable garden for next year. And among others, what we call weeds for some reason, there's plenty and plenty of dandelions and clover and all that good stuff around, which is good for our eating and good for the ducks and the chickens and our indoor pets like the guinea pig and the bearded dragon. What's really nice is, especially if you look back at the videos from when we first got this land, it's pretty much pure meadow on the whole back half of the land. We've been clearing some of it out, leaving some of it in. So there's tons and tons and tons of blackberries everywhere, which we saw before we bought the property. Well, what's nice is that now that summer is here, that we're noticing is there's lots of patches like this all around, which I'm quite positive we thought it was beforehand, and now that they're blooming, I'm sorry I'm having trouble getting it to come in focus here. Now that it's blooming as all these little white flowers, I'm quite sure are wild strawberries. So that's another really nice one to have. I'm thinking about, I have extra bird netting. I'm thinking about pretty much just making a little bird netting cage around a patch here and there, just to save them for us and, you know, leave the ones that are out in the meadow area for the birds and that kind of thing everybody needs to eat. Another beautiful plant that is literally everywhere that some people get annoyed with, but I feel blessed about, are these violets. There's lots of different things you can do with violets, everything from eating different parts of the plant to using it for medicinal purposes to using the scent of it for things like soaps and lotions and that kind of thing. Make sure you do your research before you do anything with them, obviously, and I'll hopefully make a video one day all about that because I definitely plan on using it, some of it this year. And also another great perennial for people that like to have it that I can dig up and make little 6-pack flats of them and that kind of thing. This plant here I have not identified yet, but I absolutely love it. I think that it's gorgeous with its red color. There's been quite a few of them popping up around the land. I dug this one up from the front yard. It randomly came up in the middle of the lawn and stuck it in the edge of my vegetable garden for now to save it before we mowed for the first time. And I'm not going to bother showing it to you now because it looks horrible thanks to my cat. There was a patch in the backyard of about 3 or 4 of these, and it was actually probably about a foot tall or so. Really gorgeous plant. For some reason my cat fell in love with it, has been rubbing all over it, chewing it, completely destroyed the thing. I'm hoping that she's not going to find this one and do the same thing to it. I was pretty disappointed about that. But I'm going to do some more research and try to identify what this plant is. But either way, I really think it's a gorgeous plant. Also, I've got along the edge of the vegetable garden, which are very muddy. We've had a lot of rain this week, so kind of splash mud up around them, so they don't look the greatest right now. But our gloriolus daisies, I actually got these from my mother. She was digging ones that had spread all over her yard, brought over a couple for me to just stick in the edge of the garden. And it'll just make a really nice, what do you want to call it, point of interest for the eyes, I guess, out here. And I may move them around. We just stuck them in the ground here for now, and that'll be something that I can let spread and propagate and have them come back year after year. So I'm looking forward to those when they actually get bigger and bloom. And a lot of kind of random patches of plants that were obviously intentionally put in. Not sure what the owners were trying to do. This is just kind of in the middle of the yard here. Some type of lily. It's definitely a lily. I don't know what kind of lily yet because it hasn't bloomed, but some sort of lily, so we'll be looking forward to that. It's a nice little patch. Again, something I'll probably dig up and move to a different area because it's just kind of in the middle of the pathway here over next to the chicken coop, which you can see there. And then lots of, with the way that it's the meadow, it's been really nice because there's lots of patches of things I'd like to identify. Like these little guys here, this little ground cover that I think is really pretty. Nice and feathery, looks very fern-like. There's lots of stuff like that around, just really nice ground covers, things that are getting a bit bigger than ground cover. So I want to do a lot more research and identify some of the plants that are out here because there are some really nice wild plants growing in this meadow area. And we did mow more recently, but I mean, right before we mowed, it was absolutely gorgeous. You can see all the different, unfortunately this camera doesn't like to focus when you zoom, but you know, you can see the different patches of colors around, purples and yellows and whites and reds, that kind of thing all over the place. So I've been really happy with the way the land's coming. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing the different seasons and what comes in around here.